My corn! It has been shucked! No!
I know.
Sometimes you just come across a movie and you're like, why does this exist? And that's exactly the case here with 1997's The Cornshukker, directed by Brando Snider. This is a film, if you can call it that I had never heard of until a buddy recommended to me with probably one of the best recommendations I've ever heard in my life. You're probably the only person I think I could recommend this to, and even then, I don't know. With that kind of glowing recommendation, you know I had to check this out. And after watching it, it's a movie that exists. I took some notes on it in a notebook because I'm artistic as f.
Oh my god, you on X Games mode.
Also, spoiler alert for this movie. I'm going to be talking about some spoilers. So, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it, it's only 63 minutes. Go check it out and then pause the video. Don't close the video. Pause it. Leave it open on your tab. Watch the movie real quick. Come back. Continue the movie. So let's go through this movie, shall we? The film opens up with the cornshucker shucking some corn in the middle of the cornfield, and I gotta admit, the cornshucker himself is pretty cool looking. The music playing over it sounds like a violin played through the devil's asshole, and you know what? I kinda like it. You know, this could be interpreted on a Midwest's obsession with corn and how everything's surrounded by corn. This film feels very much like From the Academy of the Lynchdom. Basically, the entire movie is a bunch of vignettes of different people coming to the cornshucker's house, which like blows my mind because like, look at this house. Who's going to this? Where I live, if you go to a house like this, you'd expect somebody walking out with like Swiss cheese arms going, "Hey man, you got $5 I can borrow?" Like you would stay the f away from that house. Are you kidding me? You would go nowhere near it. So yeah, every scene is basically the same thing, rinse and repeat. Somebody new shows up to the cornshucker's house. They have interaction and then they leave, so on and so forth. The first one's this interviewer by one of the worst performances I've seen in a while, where he just like interviews the cornshucker about nothing. And that's the thing too, is like most of this dialogue dribbles into nothing. Like I don't know if there's substance here or not. It's like one of those movies where you're like, I don't know if there's a purpose behind this or if it just exists to exist. I don't know.
And he was so bad and sweating profusely and overweight that we were really scared for him because we filmed this in August and it was really hot. He was so bad that I constantly had to, we had to cut so many times. He was that bad, guys. Seriously. Like right here, if you watch, his eyes will move back and forth because I'm actually sitting off camera with those cue cards because he didn't memorize his lines. And I think he had the script a month in advance, actually.
After the Girl Scout cookie salesman, some weird guy comes up and he's like, "Get off my leg, get off my leg, get off my leg." I guess according to the director's commentary, it was his uncle and he just used to say that all the time. You could kind of interpret it in the movie because the cornshucker has these weird like mind power things where he gets into people's minds and stuff. And the guy coming was looking for a dog, so you could interpret like, oh, he's messing with his mind, like the dog's humping his leg or something, but like, do you really want to give that much credit? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's there. I think this is just a collection of weird things in a movie.
Okay, then get off my leg, get off my leg. Okay, then get off my leg.
There's like people also just like camping out in the middle of the cornfield, like this is some kind of resort campground kind of thing. And the cornshucker just starts boogieing down. You get it, cornshuck. You shuck that corn. I guess I have two cameras. I could talk to both of them. Fancy. There's also like this weird drawn out like pizza segment with smegma pizza that I found to be just kind of weird and annoying. Like he doesn't even cook the pizza dough. He just takes the pizza dough, puts toppings on it, throws it in a box. I guess according to the director's commentary, like this dude was actually just like drunk and just hanging out and they just kept laughing at the scene. So makes the cut. I don't know if I should look at the monitor or the lens. There's also this running motif that I kind of just glossed over where these crawdads, or as they call them in the film, crewdads. Where are you from? Where that's the local dialect to call crawdaddies. I've heard crayfish, crawfish, crawdaddies, miniature laplés. But like, where, crewdads? Okay, where are you from? But there's like this running motif, like the cornshucker hates these things, so he like stomps on them. Don't worry, just in case you were worried, no actual crawdads were hurt in the filming of this. I know it looks super realistic when it happens, but when he steps on them and squishes them, it's actually just a balloon filled with chocolate syrup. Filled with? Dang old balloon filled with a dang old chocolate syrup, man. I don't know what's going on today. I've had too much Mio energy. Heart just explodes. He died the way he lived, slightly caffeinated. Anyway, the whole thing is like the Cornshukker hates these things, right? So he always kills them. And they have like this weird telepathy with them. And I actually like the sound design here. It sounds pretty cool. I like the idea of these little crawdads, you know, messing with the Cornshukker, who's the mind messer himself. Mind freak. And then for some reason, the pizza guy making the pizza just throws these crawdaddies on there, just like weirdly enough. Also, I love the fact in the director's commentary, the director Brando just completely like piles on. And I also don't know if it's Brando or Brandon. IMDb says Brando, and Brando sounds funnier, so Brando. I'm gonna go with the director's logic here. If you actually listen to the director's commentary that's on the Vinegar Syndrome release, or VHS Shitfest? Yeah, VHS Shitfest, that he like rags on everybody. He talks about how bad the acting was. He says like the pizza place was disgusting. He would never eat there again. Like they are throwing like crawdaddies and everything on it. It's, I don't know, it's kind of a wild commentary. I've never really listened to a commentary quite like this before, and I've actually listened to the commentary more than I have watched the movie. I've watched the movie once, and I've listened to the commentary track twice because I find it super entertaining. The Cornshukker though just has a really bad like lifelong corn addiction. Like, let's be honest here, his corn addiction is ruining his life.
It's cold.
There's a scene where a dog gets ran over.
It's not what you did, son, that angers me so. It's who you did it to.
Who? The fucking nobody?
That fucking nobody is
The Cornshukker.
I know.
I honestly think probably one of the most impressive things about this movie is just how many people they got to agree to be in this movie. Like, I know a lot of them are family and friends. Like, there's a scene where a woman shows up selling makeup to the Cornshukker. That's his grandma, apparently. There's also, and there's a painting too in the movie that he said his grandma actually painted. So that's kind of cool. It's the painting that the Cornshukker keeps looking at. The Cornshukker himself is the director's brother. And there's also an old man Thomas, which is kind of the crux of the whole movie. He shows up kind of pestering and aggravating the Cornshukker, drunk out of his mind. Apparently this is a friend of the director who was actually drunk on set, and apparently was so drunk he could barely like stand up or get the rocks out of his pockets to chuck at the Shukker. That's a tongue twister. Chuck at the Shukker. But anyway, so he decides to beat the ever-living hell out of this dude with a shovel. I mean, just mollywops this dude like a whack-a-mole, and it is hilarious. In the commentary, the director's like, they're gonna call us Ed Wood because this body is so bad. Like, everything they did with this is like so bad and so poorly put together. I'm just like slowly going back and forth. It's like so bad and put together. Like, it doesn't have like arms or feet or something at one point, and like it looks like it has no weight to it. And I gotta be honest with you, it's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie because it's hilarious. It's like, yeah, it's Ed Woody, but at the same time, like, you're talking about a movie called The Cornshukker. You know what I mean? There's also like makeup on him, and I guess according to the director, is like so hot and humid where they're filming, pieces would just fall off. And it's in there, it's in the movie. There's a piece in the movie where part of his like prosthetics literally just falls off. And that adds so much charm to the movie. It really does. It adds like a huge rewatchability factor to the movie that it probably really needs. Well, after he kills Old Man Thomas, the cops show up, and the cop's like, hey man, have you seen Old Man Thomas? And the Cornshukker's like,
I know.
So the cop starts interrogating him. He kind of goes looking around, and then the Cornshukker's like starting to play with knives like he's gonna do something. And then the cop just is like, what you doing? Like, honestly, like, the Cornshukker's a little too white for this cop to be this aggro to him, you know what I mean? Like, he's a little too aggressive for the tone. After he leaves, a preacher shows up to teach the Cornshukker the good word of the Lord. That it was hard for me to say. This guy's name is Reverend Lewd, and he gets pretty lewd, we'll say it that way. He kind of goes on a rant that feels a little potentially homophobic, I don't know. But as he's getting into character, not only becoming more cartoonish as he goes, he starts grabbing himself pretty aggressively. I guess the lewd makes sense now, but yeah, he's a man of the parish, you know what I mean? And I think he may have got a little bit too aggressive with the role, if you know what I mean.
Uh-oh, boner alert.
After that, we have a quick cameo from Austin Butler, so that's pretty cool. Before his Oscar win, he was in a nice little lo-fi movie like this. So that's pretty cool, mad respect. After Reverend Lude finishes looting, a lynch mob shows up to his house, but again,
that's the thing, he's white.
He's white?
Let's cut off his head!
He's white.
you know, the sheriff was pretty gung-ho for the lynch mob until the lynch mob showed up for the lynching. Then he was like, whoa, may have overstepped my lines here a little bit. Before the lynch mob shows up, the important part of the Elvis scene was Elvis shows the Cornshukker that life is beautiful, that things you don't understand aren't necessarily bad. And this comes down to, what's the word I'm looking for? It boils down to the fact that Elvis saves a crew daddy. So later in the film, a crew daddy is going to be hurt or whatever, and the Cornshukker decides to save the crew daddy, right? Well, after the lynch mob shows up, lynches the sheriff, then goes after the Cornshukker. It's happening, like, am I rocking? I think I'm rocking the camera on the tripod. I'm so fat, I'm shifting the floor. So when the lynch mob gets a hold of the Cornshukker and has the Cornshukker tied up, it's the crew daddy to the rescue, baby. Put that on a crack-a-doo. So the crew daddy comes and saves the Cornshukker for being cornshucked, and that's our movie, The Cornshukker. 63 minutes of utter nonsense that I kind of really appreciated. I mean, really, the whole arc of the film kind of boils down to this. The film's about loving things you don't understand, not hating things that you don't understand, trying to learn to understand those things that you don't understand.
That was kind of my whole thought with the film. What you hate, you don't kill. You accept it and love it. I don't think anyone will get that from this film.
Now, honestly, what really boils down to me with this film and to why I actually really like this film, and I think it's worth checking out, is this is a film that is completely based around the fact that this was a passion project of a dude who wanted to make a movie. He wanted to make a movie, and so he went out and did it with his friends. And that kind of fun and just passion, I guess, for a lack of better terms, really bleeds over into the screen. I mean, when you listen to this dude on commentary track, he boils down to like 90% of this movie is the way it is because it either made him laugh or B, he thought it was interesting. That's it. That's how the whole movie is put together. It's not a movie that feels methodically put together. It's not a movie that feels, you know, I guess in a way, incredibly purposeful. He had the character and just went out and did it. And there's a certain amount of like respect and a certain amount that it resonated with me because I've done the same thing. You know, I think anybody who wants to be a filmmaker probably just goes out, drags their friends out through the muck and makes a movie. And he did it, and you know what? It lives. It lives on in a nice collector's edition from VHS Shitfest, and that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. That's a kind of cool thing to say. He went on to make another movie just recently called Myth. It's like a Bigfoot movie, but that's it. He's made the Cornshukker in that movie, and that's really it, which is, I don't know. I mean, cool, you know? Yeah, so the Cornshukker, I'm gonna give, out of 10, I think a 6. It's not a great movie, but there is something very charming about it to me. It's also quotable, because me and my wife has not stopped quoting, I know, every time we gotta say I know. Like, that just burrows into your head, because apparently the Cornshukker knows everything.
I know.
And I'm gonna leave you with 2 things. You watching this might be the only person I know that I would recommend this to. And even then, I don't know. I'll let the director take us out.
It wasn't about really film festivals or anything. It was just, hey, let's make this fun for our friends and everyone around, and let's have a good time. And, you know, as you get older, you look back and go, God, I wish I was that guy again, because that's the true way to do things. That's the fun way to do things.
Hey, if you've made it this far into that 1% audience retention, awesome, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're not already subscribed, maybe consider subscribing, liking or disliking the video, sharing it around, what have yous. Also, if you want to support the channel even further, there are memberships available as well if you want to check those out, and I will see you next time. If I was cooler, this would be a better ending. I might have fun with this one. It's stupid, I know.